cooking. So, just had my morning walk. I was thinking about what can be done with this young generation, what the state of the issue is. And given that I'm only 26, I can pretty well relate to what it's like growing up and feeling small and insignificant compared to the whole world around you, and also not seeing a path forward. You see some guys like Andrew Tate, or I'm not even gonna bother listing them off, but you know, these like hyper masculine characters that are like almost basically a caricature of themselves. And you know, Elon Musk, that's another example, so far down along the line of their own personal development that it's really hard to relate to them. And instead of looking at how you can become that version in yourself, it's easy to just subscribe to them and be their little fanboy. Men have a tendency to want to do this, to be fanboys of other men. And men are looking for a daddy more than women are. I mean, you know, some women are looking for a daddy too. That's another story. But instead of being their peasants, their peons, you know, for their army, you want to be able to find that sense in yourself, that sense of yourself. There's actually a higher version of you that wants to come through into this form, and it's fear that is holding you back from doing that. It's fear of failure that's holding you back from actually being yourself and succeeding. The world is wanting you to be who you are, and the world needs you to be who you are, but you're busy emulating other men. The world doesn't need shitty versions of Andrew Tate. Sure, Andrew Tate's Andrew Tate. He's done some good. He's polarizing. He's also led a lot of people astray, and whatever. Who cares? That's his thing, you know. It's time to do your thing. So what's the path forward? What's holding you back from fear? You actually need to get some real world experience, because usually, even the worst case scenario, it's not as bad as you think. And you go through it, and you realize that you're not dead. When you're not dead, you're stronger. It really is true. So what's my recommendation? I say go out there and get in a fight. I don't mean get drunk and go to the pub and start a fight and glass someone. It can be at a gym. You know, you can go do it the proper way, and that's actually what I'd recommend. But I'm actually going to be a little bit risky here and go out on a limb and say, next time someone disrespects you, stand up for yourself and be willing to lose. That's some risky information. That's some risky advice there, all right? And maybe there's some fights you shouldn't pick. But I think you need to go out there and you need to be willing to get your ass whooped in order to actually be able to whoop some ass in the real world. There's things you'll learn about yourself when you get in a fight. There's no way you could learn unless you got in that fight. I used to think I was a really good fighter without actually having been in a fight. And then I got in a fight. I had my MMA debut after pretty much a few months of training at middleweight, which is, you know, those are some big boys. We were the heaviest guys on that fight card. And this guy had been training for years longer than I had. He'd been in many fights. You know, he was a good scrapper. He knew what the fuck he was doing. I didn't, and I knew that going into it. I was trying to tell myself like, oh, I'm going to pull this off, and the things you try and tell yourself. But ultimately, I had the bravery and the balls to go in there and do it and get my ass whooped in front of my whole friends and family. It wasn't a knockout. You know, I fought really well, and actually in the later part of the round, even though I'd had a broken foot, I started to just let my aggression fly. It woke something up in me that would never have been woken up if I had not have been in that situation. Your DNA literally changes when you're in certain environments. There are certain things that will wake you up to your true self that you will never be able to do just logically alone. You won't be able to think yourself into a better man. Clarity is important, but action's what actually creates the change. So So when I got in that fight, I could hardly breathe the first round. I was so anxious, and the adrenaline dump was just disgusting. It was like you kind of want to throw up halfway through because you know, he was on top of me. We got to a bit of a stalemate or a stall in the first round where he'd basically taken my back and was just landing shots, and I was doing my best to not have my back taken on the ground. And second round, that was when some really heavy blows were landed on my head. He actually broke his hand on my head and was surprised. He said after the fight, we had a drink together and caught up, and he said he was surprised he didn't actually KO me with that shot because he's used to doing that to people. And I think I can just thank my lucky thick skull genetics for that. There's no technique in being able to eat an overhand right to the fucking temple. But I was able to do it, and that's another nice little thing you can learn about yourself, is your strengths and weaknesses. I threw a few good leg kicks, and I threw one, and it was a really bad leg kick, and I ended up pretty much breaking my foot in that. And you could even see it in the replay of the fight as I sort of stumbled back onto it, and I wasn't light on my feet. There was a lot of things that weren't ideal in that fight that maybe even in the training room I might have been better in. But that fight brought something out of me, and losing that fight was one of the best things to happen to me as a man. They say, you know, I think you can be initiated more than once in your life, and there's things like that bring that side out in you. So what happened after that fight? Yeah, I had a couple of weeks where I didn't go back to the gym, and I was pretty bruised and sore and sorry for myself. I couldn't close my jaw properly, and I ended up just sort of going a bit recluse for a little bit. When I did go back into the gym, first thing I did was some old school lifting, because I needed to feel strong in myself again. I needed to have a little win, even if it was just against the weights and the iron. So I did that, and then after about a month from my total fight, I went back to my first night of sparring. This was at a different gym, and it was like when Neo gets his ass kicked in the Matrix, and then he goes out and gets all those skills downloaded to him, and then comes back, and then he's just like fucking seeing everything come a mile away. It was literally like that. I wasn't gun shy. I could see people's shots, I could defend against their shots, and I could also see and had the will and the volition to take my own shots. I didn't have that. I wouldn't have had that just from sparring alone. It's a bit too much of a nice guy. And having your ass kicked will take away that unnecessary buffer. It'll rip the skin off, make you raw, make you real. That's what you need in this world, unless you want to get fucked by it. I'm not saying you need to go out there and be an asshole and start abusing people and getting in fights, but getting in fights with people who don't deserve it. Like, you know, go out there and do it in a mutually sanctioned bout, mutual combat, where you're not on a hard ground and you're not going to go to prison for knocking someone out and possibly killing them or ruining their life, and vice versa. All right, when there's a referee. But getting into a fight will make you into a man that you'll be proud to be. And it actually changes your aura. Here's the other thing. Once you've been in a situation like that, even if it doesn't go your way, especially if it doesn't go your way, you won't be so scared of the outcome anymore. Like, all right, yeah, I got a little bruised up. And you'll have that edge to you where people aren't, you know, someone might disrespect you or something if they go that far. And I don't know what this looks like externally, but when someone disrespects me, I get this turning sensation in my body where everything goes a little bit quiet, and I'm visually and mentally ready to fight them. I don't even have to say, do you want to go outside? They can feel it in me. They can feel the atmosphere in the room change. As I go, I just start squaring them up and sizing them up. Then, if they want to persist, you know, you can say, did you really mean that? You don't need to say much. It's all in your presence. It's really felt. Auras are real. We have an etheric body, a vital body of energy that extends beyond our physical body, and people can feel that. People can feel your intention and your will, your manner. When you carry that through the world, and you're not willing to be fucked over by the world, it changes around you. It changes to your will. Now your actual true will can start coming through you and into the world, and you can make manifest your will upon the world. Now, this can get pretty esoteric because you also need the magnetic quality to be able to perceive what is worth creating and to be able to channel a vision and your imagination. That's a topic for another video. But your will is what actually gives you the courage and the ability to go out and create it. So if you've never been in a fight, get in a fight. Get in a fight. Don't ruin your life by getting in a fight, and don't ruin someone else's life by getting in a fight. Get in a sanctioned bout and become the man that you were put here to be. Live the story you were born for. Because there is nothing more painful than seeing your potential waste away. They say hell is when the man that you are meets the man that you could have been. And that breeds resentment and turns into a little cunt. Let me tell you, like people that have let their potential fade away from them, they're the most bitter, old, resentful, shitty people. Those are your Karens and your Kevins. Sorry, Kevins out there. There's probably some good ones, but I just made the male equivalent of a Karen, and it's a Kevin. All right? The resentful people out there that will look at you and say, oh, I used to lift weights when I was younger. I was probably a little bit bigger than you, but like fucking wankers, basically. You don't want to be an old, resentful person who feel like they left their youth on the table and didn't go after glory. Any man that ever made something of himself went after glory in a time when your 20s are for going after glory like that. Your 20s are for taking risks and seeing what you are. Then when you're older, you can combine your wisdom with your skills to not necessarily take those same risks, but you're also not scared of taking those risks. There's a difference there. You can not take those risks because you have better options, but you still need to have taken those risks to know that you're the kind of man that can do it. All right? This is your initiation into manhood, is get in a fight. All right? See what happens. Or your money back. Peace. Or war.